Welcome to this weekly English News Bulletin on Ronahi TV. Let's start this bulletin with a major and significant event of today. People Defense Units took control of Tilkocher border crossing with Iraq after clashes with Islamic State of Al-Iraq and Al-Sham, the Al-Nusra Front and other rebels. To know more about this event, Aras Khani, a member of YPG's Media Center, will join us now from Qamishlo. Aras Khani, welcome to the show. Major gain have been made by People Defense Units today in controlling Tilkocher border crossing. Tell us more about this.
Yes, it is true. In the second stage of the revenge campaign for the martyrs of Chalaga and Trebastia, and also in response to calls from elders people and also people from the region in all its components, the liberalization process of the city of Tilkocher al-Yarubiye from the dark forces and mercenaries and strangers has started. So far, farms surrounding the city was liberated, and also our forces, our units controlling the free market and also the border crossing point with Iraq. Operations are continuing successfully, and clashes are going on now. And also, YPG announced and asked all people from the region, they have to know that the mission of protecting and managing the city is their responsibility, and they have to defend the city. Therefore, YPG called upon all components of the region, Kurds and tribes, to be a protection and defense force for this victory. And also yet again emphasizes that the units will be fortified child against everyone who dares to tamper with our people, freedom and the security of the region. And also yet again units will adhere to protect the property, houses and all the inhabitants of the city. People protection units also will be tolerant in dealing with the events and facts in the framework of its respect of international convention for such disputes.
Aras Khani,
People protection units also will never hesitate to sacrifice everything in order to protect the dignity and the honor of people, and also the honest sons of Tilkocher al-Yarubiye have to be responsible for this historical responsibility and historic turning point which generated by the word of grace.
Aras Khani, a member of YPG's Media Center from Qamishlo, thank you very much for the update. On the other hand, following fierce clashes between YPG fighters and Al-Qaeda affiliated groups in Afrin region, an emir named Abu Usama al-Urduni has been killed. In the region of Afrin, clashes broke out between People Defense Units and the Islamic State. Clashes took place at 3 points at Marine village on Azaz Marine Road and Yazibagh Marine Road. Many members of the Islamic State have been killed, including an emir named Abu Usama al-Urduni. Clashes between YPG fighters and the Islamic State are continuing in the region. The Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan ended the first phase of the democratic resolution process on 15th of October. According to the Kurdish leader, the second phase, which started from 15th of October, should be deeper and comprehensive.
The brother of the Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan spoke to Dijla News Agency about the meeting he had with the Kurdish leader on Monday 21st of October. Öcalan expressed during the meeting his appreciation for the non-conflict environment maintained for 1 year now. Öcalan added, the first phase of the democratic resolution process ended on 15th of October from my point of view. In the current phase, I cannot estimate the direction of the process, but the second phase should be deeper and more comprehensive. The PKK leader said he was ready for further involvement in the process to come up with a solution to the major problems needed to be resolved. The Kurdish leader added he is now expecting to receive a response from the state delegation about the course of the process. He could have further talks with the delegation concerning the steps needed for the advancement of the process. If the delegation doesn't answer, I assume this would mean that the process has ended on their part, which will also mean that it would end on our part. Öcalan ended by saying, I am neither hopeful nor hopeless about the process. I will make the necessary contribution to the process.
On his part, Kurdistan Communities Union Executive Council co-president Jamil Baykh has revealed in an interview with Reuters that the peace process has come to an end. Commenting on the current developments in Rojava, Baykh said the Kurds in Rojava have the right to bring the fight from Rojava to Turkey.
In an interview with Reuters about the negotiation process between the Turkish state and the Kurdish leader Abdullah Öcalan, Kurdistan Communities Union Executive Council co-president Jamil Baykh said that the process has come to an end. Baykh added that either they accept deep and meaningful negotiations with the Kurdish movement or there will be a civil war in Turkey. Baykh said that Turkey had simply moved the front line of its fight against Kurds to Rojava. At a time when the Turkish government is helping the bandit groups and is waging a war on the people of Rojava, it is the right of the Kurdish people to bring the fight to Turkey. Baykh added that Kurds in Rojava did not need help from the PKK. If the Turkish government insists on fighting Kurds, North Kurdistan is the field of war. Baykh noted that some Kurds from Rojava who had previously fought with the PKK in northern Kurdistan had returned home of their own volition, and that young Kurds in northern Kurdistan increasingly felt compelled to go to Rojava and fight there. About Turkish and regional government of Kurdistan relations, Baykh said the PKK had nothing against regional government of Kurdistan developing good relations with Ankara as long as they were based on equality, freedom and democracy.
The Democratic Union Party co-chair Salih Muslim has been denied permission to enter southern Kurdistan after entering Rojava to join the funeral of his son Shervan Muslim.
Ramzi Karatal, president of the People's Congress of Kurdistan, spoke to Sterk TV about the rejection of PYD co-chair Salih Muslim from entering southern Kurdistan on 17th of October. Karatal pointed out that the Kurdistan Democratic Party KDP denied Muslim permission from entering southern Kurdistan because of its alliance with Turkey. He added, the purpose of this attitude was to prevent Kurds from going to Geneva. This is an acceptable attitude that will harm the common interests of the Kurdish people. The government of southern Kurdistan cannot evade this responsibility. Peace and Democracy Party Parliamentary Group Deputy Chair Pervin Buldan, who also responded strongly to KDP, pointed out that this hindrance meant building a barrier to the unity of Kurds and demanded the removal of the obstacles of entering southern Kurdistan. Buldan called attention to the importance of the unity of Kurds in the current process and underlined that Turkey was behind this hindrance. The Democratic Society Movement executive Hossein Shawish also underlined that the prevention of Muslim was not independent from the policies of Turkey against Kurds, adding that KDP and AKP government tried to prevent the unity among Kurds.
Turkey has started to build yet another wall between Kilis province of northern Kurdistan and Afrin city of Rojava. This wall is being the third one after Çaylanpınar Serikaniye wall and Nusaybin Qamishlo wall. Frat News Agency reported the wall in Afrin has reached 200 meters high and is built between Ikidam and Dikmatash villages in Afrin and Tahtali and Dogan villages of Kilis in northern Kurdistan.
از نوی مسرحات جاهری مع عفرینمه ام دجی و او دیواره تی آماده کرن السر سیرون ریمه و ام دبیجن گرک ام چهارسری کش ویرا بینن چهارسر عینی ام نکباکی چیگن اویا عینی جدار الفصل العنصري الفلسطيني وجدار برلين الالماني عيني و اویا دغازن کردی با کوری و رجاوا جهده وقتینه
و باش هم نغازن في دیواره چه به في دیواره چه به وحتى امكان عم في ديواري جفي ما بني فانا جراكن
انا اخذ في ديوره تشي في كابرنا قابلنا ام كل بيرنا اشتم تعملنا كان ام اشتم ان شاء الله ام بعد من ندوير شباب كل بير قيس جاي
اف مغفره شمشاكي يعني اف مغفره صار تيلي يعني مغفره اف ديوري قرتنا ان تمام ناكرنا ديورين باردوام يعني اف او كده كده ديوري بكنا بلكي لفرنوين اساس مع اساس كولونا شكون ديوري تمام بكنا يعني او دبين.
Protests against the wall which Turkey started to build between northern Kurdistan and Rojava are continuing. Human rights organizations and Kurdish people in two parts of Kurdistan are strongly condemning the wall.
وقت لحار دارو تقرن تخوزين عنزالي كي تشيبك انه بريد يعني كرد جبال قول الوهلي كردنا يعني خو اف دیوارات شده کن دخوازن يعني ملت دیواری که پیش ملت دینه اما ملتی ماجی او دیوار جرا گچی نینه يعني او اساس نینه چه ده ببلا به اف دیوار يعني جماعه سنر ناتی دوندن ملت کی کرد کدو به ور آخه مایه ور اوه مایه.
Thousands of people and Kurdish politicians protested in northern Kurdistan Nusaybin city and Rojava's Qamishlo city on Sunday 20th of October, the wall being built between these two parts of Kurdistan. Protesters in Nusaybin were attacked by police who denied giving them permission to protest, claiming that demonstrators would incite provocation. After police attacks, clashes erupted between the two sides. On the other hand, a committee from the Human Rights Foundation IHD inspected the wall now rising on Nusaybin-Qamishlo border and made a call to tear down the wall. The delegation stated during the inspection that by building new walls, the Turkish government is following a policy that deepens and worsens the current situation. No one benefited from these policies and no one will. The Confederation of Patriot Kurdish Students in Afrin city of Rojava condemned also in a statement the wall being built by the Turkish government. The students remarked in their statement that the wall is part of Turkish policies aimed to eliminate Kurdish people. The statement stressed that neither building walls nor borders will separate them and undermine Kurd solidarity in two parts of Kurdistan. Human Rights Organization of Rojava condemned also the wall being built and stated that this act is against all moral and humanitarian values and aims to disconnect Kurds. The Human Rights Organization of Rojava called on all institutions and organizations in both Rojava and northern Kurdistan to take actions stopping building the wall.
To discuss this issue and others, we join now by Mr. Hassan Qazi, a news commentator. We are pleased to have you here on Ronahi, Mr. Qazi. I would like to start with a major and significant event of today. People Defense Units took control of Tulkocher border crossing with Iraq after clashes with the Al-Qaeda affiliated groups. What does the gain of Tulkocher mean for the Kurds?
You know, thank you very much first for your invitation. As you know, these clashes has been going on for a while, and I think new consolidating of power by the Kurdish forces, it's very important because, as you know, next month will be these negotiations in Geneva, second negotiations, and I think as long as the Kurds will be able to consolidate their positions, it will help to their position in the negotiations as well.
As you followed in our bulletin, KDP denied permitting BYD's co-chair Saleh Muslim to enter southern Kurdistan after entering Rojava to join the funeral of his son Sharvan Muslim. What do you read in this matter?
I think the problem is solved now because I think Mr. Saleh Muslim has been able to come out from Rojava, from western Kurdistan, but if you ask me my personal opinion, I very strongly condemn such acts by any power, I mean, in the area to curb the advancement of Kurdish movement. So I think because, as you know, there are lots of border crossings between, let's say, Rojava and the neighboring countries, and among them the Kurdish federated areas of Iraq. So I think this kind of movement should be solved in some other way rather than in media. This is the way that, for instance, Dr. Mahmoud Osman, who is a very veteran Kurdish politician, talked about this issue as well. For instance, it can be, I mean, you asked me what I read about it. I think this was a tactic in order to pressurize Democratic Union Party, but I think, as I said, there are other possibilities, so it is not a good tactic because it's very important at this stage of the current stage of Kurdish situation that all parties can unite and have a kind of consideration towards each other.
Let's move on to Rojava revolution. For about 3 years, Kurds in Rojava are experiencing revolution. They have decided to remain neutral, neither supporting the Syrian regime nor the Arab opposition. Despite this neutral stance, they are targeted by both the Syrian regime and the rebels. What are the motives behind these attacks?
Yeah, I think for the first, the position by the Kurdish movement in Rojava or in Syrian Kurdistan was very, I think, timely because it could spare all these, let's say, atrocities, all these destructions which are going on in Syria. And I hope that this tactic or this position could be continued, as we know in the recent months. So there has been clashes as a result of the, let's say, bandits' activities in the area. But I hope that this position will be preserved because in the future, when the things will change in Syria, so the Kurds will be able to negotiate it from a, let's say, position of power to struggle in order to take up their issues.
Turkey is playing a prominent role in foiling the Kurdish progress. To what extent can Turkey obstruct Kurds from obtaining their rights in Rojava?
As we look at the map of Syria and the Rojava, so we can see that there are different actors involved there, and Turkey is one of them. So I think the question of Turkey's involvement has to do also with the developments inside Turkey. But I don't think, for instance, you had in the reportage now that these attempts to building walls and things like that will not solve anything, because we know that how people...
What is the purpose of
the
building
purpose
these
is,
walls?
for instance, in order to consolidate the separation and to curb the way of, let's say, the people can move freely from the one border to another. But it is not helpful, neither for Turkey and nor for any other people involved. So the only solution, I think, is that Turkey will continue with this process which is going on inside Turkey in order to come to some kind of, let's say, agreement with the Kurdish movement in Turkey. And at the other hand, try to see the reality of the authority of Kurdish movement inside Rojava.
Despite all the challenges the Kurds are facing in Rojava, they are governing themselves with all components of Rojava, Arabs, Assyrians, Armenians. What is your perspective of Rojava revolution, Mr. Qazi?
I think it's very important that you mention now that Kurds as a, let's say, minority, if you can compare them with the, for instance, the Arab-speaking people of Syria, that they take a very deep consideration about the rights of other people who are living with them. For instance, Armenian, Assyrians, and all other people who are belonging to different, let's say, ethnicities and different nationalities in the area. For instance, this new achievement of Yarubiya or in Telkocher, it is very important because, you know, the population there, majority, they are not Kurds, they are Arabs. So if there is a, let's say, mechanism that the Kurds could have a kind of solidarity and cooperation with other groups, it will also help the, let's say, the position of Kurds in general.
Yeah. Since the start of the revolution, women in Rojava have taken a key role in social, political and military areas. How do you assess the role of women in Rojava in this revolution?
I think it is a very welcome situation because, as we know, that the movement of the women in Kurdish political life, for instance, if we take the role that the women played in the movement in the north, now we see it in practically in the Rojava, in Syrian Kurdistan as well. And one of the symbols that recently really it was a very moving scene to see was the way that the lady Aisha Effendi spoke in the funeral of his son Sherwan, and really it gave a very, it shows how the women are decisive about their role to play in the movement. But as I said before, I think I mentioned that it's very important that just we don't think and concentrate on the military side. I mean, the women that can play a role in many ways, and first and foremost for their rights against all these traditions and all these, let's say, cultures which may curb their rights.
At the end, taking all the facts on the ground into consideration, where is the Rojava revolution heading, Mr. Qazi?
I think I am very optimistic about it, and as long as they will be able to consolidate the, let's say, achievements that they have, it is very important to be optimistic about the future. I may mention something in the end that while we had this very good news, there was a bad news coming from eastern Kurdistan that today one Kurdish political prisoner, Habibullah Gulparipur, and some Baluchi strugglers were hanged inside Iran by the Iranian government.
Yeah. Hassan Qazi, a news commentator, you've been with us here in studio. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Kurdish Women's Movement KGP held its 6th General Assembly in media defense areas. The General Assembly, which was attended by 120 delegates, ended with a decision to initiate a new process.
Representatives of Free Women Units, Star Free Women Units and Young Women Organization attended the 6th General Assembly. Kurdish Communities Union Executive Council co-president Bessé Hozat gave a speech during the assembly referring to Öcalan, saying that the 21st century will be a century of women's freedom. She added the struggle of the Kurdish women's movement has a significant impact on the struggle of women in the Middle East. Nowadays, women in all arenas are struggling in order to create a free and democratic life. The Kurdish women's struggle of the last 40 years has become the source of light for all women in Middle East. The system we are trying to develop will pave the way for the freedom of not only Kurdish women, but also all other women in Middle East and the world, she added. In a statement released on Monday, 21st of October, Kurdish Women's Movement KGP coordination vowed commitment to the women martyrs who lost their lives in the struggle of freedom of women and society. The statement by KGP moreover stated that the General Assembly agreed on to establish a joint struggle platform with other women's movements in the region. On the other hand, the Assembly agreed on to develop the self-defense mechanisms against all kinds of attacks targeting women and children.
According to a report of German intelligence, some 200 jihadists from across the country have been in Syria and Rojava to support Al-Qaeda fronts. More about this in the next report.
According to German intelligence, some 200 Islamists from across Germany have gathered in northern Syria in what has been dubbed the German camp. A German camp has been set up in northern Syria and now serves as a collection point and possibly also a training center for German-speaking fighters. The majority of these young men come from the state of North Rhine-Westphalia, home to 1/3 of Germany's Muslim population. But others come from the states of Hessen, Bavaria and Hamburg. Over half of them are thought to have German nationality. It is estimated that around 1,000 volunteer jihadists from across Europe are now in Syria, compared to just 250 in late 2012. Around 90 allegedly come from Britain, 120 from Belgium, 50 from Denmark, and approximately 150 from Kosovo. According to their latest statistics, German intelligence agencies believe that 8 German jihadists have already died on the front line in Syria.
The attacks of Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups and the embargo imposed on Rojava forced thousands of people to flee their homes. Many took shelter in northern and southern Kurdistan, others in Europe. However, after People Defense Unit Siapage and Women Defense Unit Siapage took control of areas that were under the control of Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups, a number of refugees who fled Rojava to escape the violence turned back. In this regard, Simalka border gate officials stated that 26,800 people who fled their houses looking for refuge in southern Kurdistan have turned back to Rojava in the last 3 months. Since the start of the revolution in Rojava, the women started to organize themselves in the system of self-governance. The next report reviews some of the activities organized by women in Hasake, Tiltamer, Serikanye and Tarbespia town in the course of last week.
The revolutionary movement of the young women in Rojava held series of meetings in Hasake, Tiltamer and Serikanye cities under the slogan, "Organizing women is following the path of Martyr Beritan." In Hasake city, Vian Hasake emphasized during the meeting on the important role of women in Rojava revolution by saying that women of Rojava organize themselves in appropriate way. The women of Rojava realized their important role in creating a democratic and free society. In Serikanye, the revolutionary movement organized similar meeting. Jan Fidan, a member of the coordination office of the revolutionary movement, confirmed during the meeting that the women have proved themselves in Rojava revolution through their active participation in defending their people and areas. The Star Union branch in Janderes of Afrin organized for its members in cooperation with Women's Defense Unit Siapage a training course in how to use arms. The course lasted 3 days and the women were trained on how to use arms. Most of the women in Rojava started to bear arms defending themselves after Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups attacked Rojava.
ام وکجن چجمه وری خواستن ام حاضرن امی بکن امی پرستنه ولایت خواب کن امی پرستنه گندی خواب کن پرستنه شرف و ناموسی خواب کن
میروتنه گندی چاقالو پرورده سلاحه ام دخوازن ام سلاح بعلمن و ام گندی خواب پارس کن.
The Foundation of Culture and Art in Tarbespia town gave a seminar to Women's Town on the emergence of Kurdish culture. The seminar addressed also the prominent role of women in preserving the Kurdish culture and language.
The people of Rojava are continuing to govern themselves after liberation of their areas. The next report reviews some of the activities that took place in Qamishlo and Hasake.
The municipality of Hasake, which was established on 2nd of September, started to deliver public services. The 20 Arab and Kurd municipality workers are giving services to Tal Hajar, Mufti, Salhiya, Nasra and Kalasi neighborhoods of Hasake. Qamishlo People's Council held its semi-annual meeting in attendance of its members, representatives of political parties and non-governmental organizations of the city. The meeting aimed to assess Council's achievements over the last 6 months. In addition, a number of decisions were taken for the coming 6 months. The Service Committee of the Supreme Kurdish Council has distributed its monthly aids consisted of vital services such as food aid among needy families in Qamishlo city. The aid distributed to all components of Qamishlo city, Arabs, Kurds, Assyrians and Armenians. The Service Committee of the Supreme Kurdish Council continues distributing aids since the condition of the needy families worsened in Rojava due to the tightened embargo imposed on Rojava by some battalions of the Free Syrian Army, the Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups, Turkey and the regional government of Kurdistan. The civil society movement held its first meeting in Girkelege and Termelan. The movement has been formed by Teachers Union, the Institution of Kurdish Language, Contractor Union, Health Council, real estate dealers and shop owners. The meeting ended up with election of 3 persons to coordinate their activities.
Despite all attempts of the Syrian regime and the armed and political Syrian opposition to disrupt the peaceful coexistence of all components of Rojava, the people of Rojava are strengthening their relations. In this context, the Christian Union Church in Derek organized a meeting and the Brotherhood Council of Hasake makes preparations for its second conference.
The Christian Union Church in Derek City held a meeting in attendance of representatives of Christian organizations, the People's Council of West Kurdistan and the Kurdish National Council. The meeting addressed the fraternity of people of Rojava and ways to strengthen it. Naim Youssef, pastor of the Christian Union Church, gave a speech during the meeting saying that it is church's duty to strengthen brotherhood between all components of Rojava. Speeches which were given by the Syriac Union Party, the Assyrian Democratic Organization, put also emphasis on the need of strengthening coexistence in Rojava. The Brotherhood Council in Hasake City is preparing to hold its second conference between 12th and 14th of November. The conference will assess Council's achievements since establishment. Also, new plans will be made to solve the problems faced by the citizens of Hasake City. The Brotherhood Council of Hasake City was established by the people of the city on 12th of July 2012. To tackle Hasake citizen problems, the council formed its service, media and financial committees, which consisted of 35 members from different components of the city.
Fatma, a 57-year-old woman from Qizil Ali village of Kobane, decided to bear arms after Al-Qaeda-affiliated groups attacked her village 1 year ago. Fatma spoke to Ronahi about her experience of defending her village.
وزاري متشان بون وزاروك متشان بون وخبيرة ما وجنجة ما وزاروك ما أمزون جند خمانات هركون ما بار خاطو أم وضد ما هنا ما وزيون دونا أم دخولم دست خا وأم ردنم بخا بيرة خا بجنجة خا زاروك خا بار خدان خاتكم والفي بالكوري دجمن تيما وزوار تيم بدر كده نوا ما خوني ماي مثلا إيرة نفرض فوجي بالكور تقول كريه دجمن ما بتخوني أزوار تيم حرس ساكن.
كانوا ويا بايت كده مبارز كده أزوات ما بيحاول خود دي قحنا ترجمنا مع بهوزي كولون من الجي أوانا يجي أوانا يا باجي قوم نقول من فرسن قلت يا أول خود زوار كان يا باجي نقول لا تشتاق لا أكلنا شوف أصلا شاطنو تزني يا قوي جه هفالك جي كيبو نبقى شوفير قواتي نبدأ شهور كريم
حركتي كيمبو لازم أنا كوارن مرة يردم كان ما جيش كي ما جيت دست خو بيراكون جنجان خورتان زاريان ما حموش ولانا حمو موازي شكرن جيت دست خو بحيل خو أما بخو بحيل خو تناي ما ببيت بيري خو ما موازيونه جيت شكرن بحيل خو تناي ما هوالا رد كاد ما شاطش مي حتى سبه هوالا رد كاد ما موازي حتى سبه يعني قاسي حيلة منا في بريشتن أنا برا خورت خارانا غري برا واري خطة ياكي.
That's all for this week. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.